So today what we're going to talk about, today I'm going to help you guys to really key detachment, okay? And we're going to talk about the ego. So this is what I'm going to help you guys with today. I'm going to give you some tips. I'm going to show you how the mind works. We're going to talk a little bit about the conscious to subconscious and how the ego, which is housed in the conscious mind, how it relates to your subconscious mind, okay? I'm going to show you a huge technique to use or a tip. So first of all, let's go into the mind. So let's talk about your mind, okay? So let's go. We're going to focus on two parts of your mind. We're going to focus on your subconscious and we're going to focus on the conscious. All right. So where is the ego? What does it do? How does it work? All right. So your ego, it is stored or it is housed within your conscious mind, okay? The conscious mind is where you do all your thinking, your reasoning, your rationalizing, you form opinions, okay? So the ego is housed in what I call that intelligent part of the mind, so to speak, right? But there's something about the ego that I like to call the primitive mind. You see, while your conscious mind on that part of your brain, it has reasoning in it, it can analyze, it can rationalize, it can think, it can form opinions, and it creates perceptions. There's also another part that hasn't fully developed, and I call that the childlike mind, or we call that the primitive mind or the ego. That's the ego. So your ego that's housed within your conscious mind is driven with one derivative, okay? It's driven with one prerogative, to survive. That's the sole purpose of the ego, to just keep you alive. It's designed to preserve its own self, so to speak, all right? So that's the ego. It's housed in there. See, your conscious mind, this is what it was designed for the ego houses, okay? It was designed for you to think those beautiful thoughts, to think those desires, okay? To say what you desire, and then your subconscious mind, which is the higher mind, picks up on it, and they both agree, and then you allow to create or to manifest your desires to come into to reality, all right? So that's how it go. That's how it works when both of these minds are operating together. So now let's talk a little bit about the subconscious, okay? How it relates. So your conscious mind or the ego, it houses thoughts, creates your desires, okay? It makes you think these things, okay? And you can reason, you can rationalize, you can form perceptions, okay? Now let's go into the higher mind, the subconscious. Your conscious mind is known as the rational, logical mind. Subconscious, we call it the irrational or illogical mind. Subconscious is very, very, I wouldn't want to use the word enormous, but it is infinite. There's nothing it cannot process. There's nothing it cannot handle. Your subconscious mind, everything is easy and nothing is impossible to that mind, okay? Your subconscious mind, guys, remember, it cannot take a joke. It takes everything literal. So if you're saying, oh, I'm so stupid. Oh, why am I so broke? Your subconscious mind don't know it's a joke. It believes and it takes everything you say and it forms and it believes. So it believes that's what you want or that's what you desire or that's what you're portraying. Another important factor, subconscious mind only knows you. Repeat that again. Your subconscious mind only knows you. Doesn't know Tom, John, your mom, your sister. So think about what I've just said. So that means every individual or every person that you judge or you say something negative or you detest or you put down, your subconscious mind is actually believing that's what you are portraying. Repeat that. Your subconscious mind only knows you. So any individual you're putting down, judging, saying this bad, anything with negative connotations or speaking about yourself, your subconscious mind believes you're referring to you. Now, the conscious mind, or where the ego is, it's the primary force, or one of the forces that can really, really stop you. So let's use quantum physics, or let's talk about quantum mechanics, how the mind works, because everything is derived from these particles. The same ingredients create every single thing, and we have domain in our consciousness. So the ego is the primitive mind. So it creates its own perceptions, or what I call reality loop, and it uses your feelings. It creates what I've called your feelings of doubt, fear, worry, and these mentality of scarcity. This has to do with partly how you are programmed. So your natural default state of programming, guys, is one of fear, lack, and scarcity. This is what society, your teachers, everything you learned, your mind absorbed it, and it believed and formed that what we call that reality loop. That's the ego mind. Your higher mind, on the other hand, cannot be bound by fear, by doubt, by worry. It's impossible. because it has access and it knows every single thing that you could possibly desire, and it's connected to what we call the superconscious mind, the mind of closest to God, the mind of the collective consciousness. Okay, and now when we talk about creation on a physical plane, or now we're speaking about it on a quantum plane or an energetic pattern plane. Now, everything has their own unique vibratory frequencies, your thoughts, even your own consciousness. So your mind, or your subconscious higher mind, believes that everything that you are looking or attaining is already here for you, okay? So it believes you already have it. In your conscious mind now, it's a little different. Your conscious mind now sets limits and boundaries, okay? Because it literally believes that there are some things that you aren't able to achieve just because of its lack or its limitation of perceiving something beyond a physical manifestation level, okay? So your mind is limited on that aspect. This is why your mind will constantly work to try to figure things out, to bring things in, but it cannot ever achieve it. Why? Because it has a limited spectrum. You cannot see beyond a certain point. Your higher mind, on the other hand, can see beyond dimensions. Your higher mind doesn't work in time as a dimensional format as your conscious mind does. Your conscious mind uses time in a linear format. Your subconscious mind uses time right now. So it believes everything is happening simultaneously this very moment. Okay, conscious mind, ego, can never come into the present moment. Why? Let's talk about what we just said. Because of its lack of experience, or its lack of that productivity, or its lack of, it cannot just figure things out. It cannot perceive things beyond a certain limit. It's a limited mind. So if it comes into the present, it's just too much information. Cannot handle it because it's quite limited. So your higher mind and things you desire, everything you want, it's right here in this moment. If you can keep your mind here, you can attain these things. But your ego has a unique trick, okay? Because it's primitive and it wants to survive, it uses time. It keeps you in the past, it keeps you in a future, a perception, so it won't be in the present. Because if you're in the present, you've disconnected you with your ego. So there's your first big tip. To disengage the ego, keep yourself in the present. How do you keep yourself in the present? Be in line with your higher mind. What that mean? Be in line with your desires. Start to think only of the things you desire. Start to think thoughts that make you feel good. That's the only purpose. If you do this, you're connected to your higher mind. You're out of the ego mind. When we think or focus on only what we want, it's a very complex event of creative forces happening here. When you're thinking and you're desiring and just focusing on what you want without figuring out the middle, which is how, why, when, you're actually creating highly electromagnetic vibratory frequencies. You are moving towards what you want. That's the goal. Remember what I said about your higher mind. It knows everything you want before you even know what you desire. So it knows how to get it to you. Just keep the vibration high. You can match the frequency and your reality becomes our perception becomes your reality. Now, when you're in the ego mind, okay, it will use things to lure you in. It uses time distortion, okay? Puts you in past and future. Keeps you with fear, with doubt. It tries to figure things out. It tries to work on its own agenda. This is how you know you're in the ego. So here's the big tip I'm going to leave with you today. Always go back to this tip. I'm going to give you an analogy. And if you find yourself in this analogy, you're in the ego mind and you're in a reality loop. Let's use the mouse in the wheel with the cheese. You have the mouse and there's the cheese right there. The mouse is perpetually running on the wheel. Why is the mouse running the cheese? Well, the reason the mouse is running, that wheel is perpetually moving, because its desire is right in front of it, the cheese. It wants to grab the cheese. But here's the illusion of it. The mouse will never, ever get the cheese, okay? Because the wheel spins perpetually and stays in the same momentum. Therefore, the mouse will never, but he still continues to run for the cheese. This is what happens when you're in the ego's mind. That's what I call the reality loop. You will always think and reach for your desires, and you will never reach them because your mind will give you an illusion, the ego, that you cannot get it, you have to do this to get it, or you have to do that to get it. Now, this is where the conscious and the subconscious clashes. The conscious and the subconscious, they clash. Okay, because your subconscious holds your desires. So that part of your body, your mind, that says, hey, I can get this. The conscious now holds the reasoning to say why you can't get it. And comes the comparison of the mouse and the cheese. So on one hand, you have your desires, your ego now. Conscious basically tricks you or gives you the illusion that you can have it. And you keep running and running. So how does it work? Well, if you start to think about the fear, the doubt, the worry, okay, you start to say what you don't have, how you can't get it, and then you're figuring things out. That's you on the wheel trying to grab the cheese. And I just showed you it will never work. Okay? Now, here's what happens. Once you get out of that ego and you get into your higher mind, here's what happens. Let's use the cheese again. Now you're able to see things from a different dimensional perspective because now you have awareness with your higher self, which knows the easiest and effortless ways to get you things. Always remember, energy will always seek the path of least resistance, just like water. So you don't have to force or create action. You only take action at the end of your manifestation, not before. If you're thinking of making action and doing stuff to make things happen, you are miscreating, okay? Action is the very last step to get your manifestation.